Summertime memories when our kids were younger. There were these splash pads. I guess they're still around. We met up with a bunch of our families, our friends, and it was at this big shopping center. If you're from the Charlotte areas, up in um, near Highland Creek, Birkdale Village. And so there's places around, stores and things, restaurants. And we met up there at the splash pad, and it's water squirting up, and the kids are running around having a good time. And one of my kids was a young toddler at the time and somehow came down with a case of diarrhea. And
Ooh.
I'm pretty sure it made a mess into the concrete where we were playing. And I had to scoop her up in a towel and go to a restaurant across the way to take her into a bathroom to get her cleaned up and changed. I was embarrassed, mortified. I think my friends helped. I don't know if someone cleaned it up outside, but I guess I had things with me. I seem to remember walking with the towel wrapped around me to the restaurant, carrying a bag of things, which is why moms carry bags of things. Change of clothes. It's always good to have a change of clothes in the car. Another memory, this was 2019 because my nephew graduated high school, and me and our youngest, who were 10 and 17 maybe at the time, we the three of us drove up to Pennsylvania for his graduation. We kind of made a long trip of it. Don, you stayed back for some reason. And we went up and spent time at my brother's house, enjoyed the graduation, visiting with family. And then we were coming back and going to stay at one of our timeshare locations in the Shenandoah Valley of Virginia. And so, leaving Eastern Pennsylvania, I was trying to figure out where we could stop along the way. We wound up going to, oh, I didn't write this down, that area that's West Virginia, Virginia, Maryland. Anyway,
Shenandoah Valley, kind of that area.
no.
No.
So, Harper's Ferry? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Anyways, we went somewhere, and then we're driving through the country to this rural area where the resort was. And at the time, we had a Civic. It was a 2008 Honda Civic, and it was kind of the sports model. And it sat really low to the ground. And it was so low that you would pull up to a curb and it would scrape the bottom because it wasn't tall enough to fit over the curb. And that had happened multiple times. I think I remember it happening when we were up in Pennsylvania. Um, and so we're driving along rural road, middle of nowhere in Virginia, and we hear this awful scraping noise. And I had to pull the car over. And my kids have anxiety disorders, so this is a little unnerving whenever you have to pull over. Um, and there's like a plastic underbelly on the car, and it had folded down, and so it couldn't really drive very well with it because it was hanging down. Some nice couple man stopped, and he told me which direction to go to get to the nearest store because we're in the middle of nowhere to be able to get something to help pin it up. I can't remember if I attempted something for the short run to be able to drive to where we needed to go. And I do remember pulling into, it was like a fast food place or something. And I'm on the ground looking underneath the car, trying to figure it out. And all these people are walking by, and no one offered to help me. I remember that. And I remember either getting some duct tape somewhere or string to be able to tie this plastic piece up so that we could make it the rest of our way to the resort. And I know that our oldest was going to be meeting us at the resort. And so I had reached out to you guys, and luckily there were cell phones, and he was bringing things up to help fix it. But it was a little bit of a snafu in our fun little vacation trip in our journey. And it was like, oh, let's take these back roads. This is scenic. This is fun. And the car's falling apart. Um, and, but it all worked out okay. When Harrison came up, he had something to tie up the belly of the Civic. And I guess when we came home, we got it fixed somewhere. I don't remember the rest of that
Oh, used to put that Civic together with bolts and pieces and string and all kind because
because
it's
it would pull
that front
down and
end.
you would, but I
Yeah.
guess this just was like the last straw that really ripped it down. I don't even know what happened that caused the final straw.
So hello, this is Don,
And this is Gina with Focused Healthy Family.
and today's podcast number 227, and we're just talking about some summertime tips for both kids and seniors, the kind of the whole family, giving some ideas of things you can do for the summer.
Okay. You got a joke for me first?
Oh yes, let me get the jokes back up here. I almost forgot that part. All right, let's see. Well, what does the frisbee look forward to all year?
What does the frisbee look forward to all year? I don't
A
know.
summer fling.
Okay.
Um, let's see the other ones that was. Oh, how does seashells stay clean?
How do seashells stay clean?
They wash up on the beach. And then there's why are elephants always ready to swim?
Why are elephants always ready to swim? I don't know.
They're wearing trunks all the time.
Yeah, that's an old
Ting.
elephant trunk joke. It's an old
Like a
one.
old dad jokes here, I think is what I did.
So our whole podcast today is about different tips. Um, Keeping the whole family in mind, whether you're going places with young children, maybe your own, your grandchildren, nieces, nephews, taking care of yourself. And also, older individuals, seniors, which I guess we both are in that category now that we're over 55, Don. I don't know.
Yeah, no, yeah.
It's
What?
like I had a patient, she wasn't a patient of mine, but she's a resident at the facility. It's an independent place where I work. And she was either 103 or 104, but she had lost two sons. And it's like, you live to be 100. Your children are advanced age seniors themselves. And I don't know where that came from, but
Wait, I was noticing, I did kind of some study on this, but well, it talk on this study about both the things to watch out for as well as the tips. And one of the first things that was kind of interesting comparing the two. Um, well, on the kids side, they talk about good hydration habits and they talk about drinking water and all of this. On the senior side, it has helpful ideas, and it starts about drinking water, but then it talks and then they talk about eating foods. Now for the kids, they talk about eating watermelon, grapes, oranges, and pineapple. On the senior side, the watermelon's one of them, but then cucumbers, oranges, and strawberries. So I don't know what the comparison is with that or why the difference, but because they also talk about limiting caffeine and alcohol on the senior side, not on the kids side. Yeah.
yeah. And people don't realize give kids a lot of caffeine, and caffeine is diuretic.
I read it. Yeah.
So it's dehydrating. So sodas that have caffeine in them, in the summertime, if you're going to give your kid a soda, by all means, find one that's not caffeinated.
Um,
A lot of clear sodas aren't, but Mountain Dew surely is caffeinated. Realizing how that affects, yeah, staying hydrated when you're outside. Even if you're swimming, you think, oh, I'm in the water. We still need to drink water, especially if we're in a pool where it's chlorinated water. We need to stay hydrated.
well, and then they talk about on the kids side, they talk about dehydration, and then on the senior side, they talk about heat exhaustion. You know, and I it just I
Yeah,
just find these comparisons kind of interesting.
I think
Just
people of all ages can get heat stroke, heat exhaustion,
yeah,
um, whatever you call that. I remember we were at, it was either a protest or a festival downtown here, and it was really hot outside. And I was standing close to this couple, and this older woman, I could tell she was going down. She, and I snuck in there
oh
and
yeah, I remember
used my
that.
leg to help lower her so she didn't hit the pavement. And, got her laying down. We got her feet up in the air. It was probably heat stroke related, and the medics came and took care of her. But I just remember like stepping in there, like this lady's going down. You got to keep her from hitting her head. So yeah, thinking about that, we're outside at festivals, different events. Um, we live in North Carolina. Summer happens fast here. We were having very chilly weather, and bam, 90 degrees. In the middle of May, it's summer now. And need to think about the heat and how it affects us and staying hydrated.
Well, and both of them really can so you just need to stay hydrated too. 'Cause a lot of times we're not taking the water in that we need to take in and all that. So those signs can be for
I'm
both
seeing that a
ages.
lot with seniors. We're talking about water consumption and working with people, and some of my people are even mid 50s, 60s.
Oh, wait, you know what? Did I record? Yeah, I did record. Sorry.
We
Didn't mean
almost
to
had to
interrupt.
start all over because Don
No.
forgot to hit record. People didn't grow up with that mindset of drinking water. Like now, everyone's got water bottles. It's kind of fashionable to take your water bottle and drink water, yet there's a lot of people out there who don't realize it. And I meet people all the time who consume less than 8 ounces of water a day. Like they take, they drink water when they swallow their pills. And otherwise, they're drinking coffee, they're drinking soda, or they're not drinking fluids. And just how impactful that is on our body. And it's interesting, talk about nutrition and health, and it doesn't get pushed by the medical. Let's say drink so much water or whatever, but there's people and they're taking all these medications and all these problems going on. And it's like,
Yeah.
how hydrated? How hydrated are these people? I working with someone, a younger man in his 60s that had a heart attack and discovered he drinks coffee drinks and Pepsi and takes a little bit of water to swallow pills and realizing just the education that's needed out there for people that the importance of hydration. And when they talk about snacks, fruits have water in them. Fruits and vegetables, have water. So they are helpful in hydrating us. Unlike most snacks that we're often seen taking with us, granola and crackers and prepackaged bars and all this kind of stuff, very low content of water. And so it's the more fruit and things we're eating, it's adding to that water that we need in our body. But so many people don't drink enough
What
water.
I was thinking about, if you think about the progression of water over past probably the 50s,
The
we
1950s
well,
or
after
age
that,
50.
after 1950s, you start seeing more and more, like especially during the 70s, a lot of pollutions and this stuff getting into the water. They started putting more chlorine in the water, all of that kind of stuff, and it started changing the taste of water a lot of times for people at their home.
Hmm.
So they get kind of, I think, kind of chased away from it. They don't, and of course, then you've got Pepsi and all these building up over that time too. I mean, when I was a kid, we had soda maybe, you know, once or twice a month maybe, and it was kind of a treat at the time.
What did you drink with dinner as a kid growing up?
Um, Water or tea. A lot of times we'd have like sweet tea. Um,
In Missouri in the
yeah.
60s, you drank sweet tea with dinner. You didn't drink milk?
No, well, we'd had milk too. That was another one, but
Oh.
mostly it was, like I say, water or tea that I can remember. We didn't have, like I say, sodas came about when I was in
I thought I
teens, but
assumed it would have been milk because most people we drank water with our meals at dinner. We didn't
uh,
drink milk the way other people did. Maybe when we were really little, but and we'd go out to dinner and they'd come around, what do you want to drink? And it's like we had to say water, I guess maybe because it was a cost saving measure or whatever. But I grew up with, it's like, oh, you drink milk at dinner? Like we drink water. It was so I kind of grew up with more of it. And yet, I went to high school. I went to public school. I didn't bring a water bottle with me. There were water
no.
fountains, and I guess I took drinks out of that. It makes me cringe to think about it now. But
Well, and
and
that could be the other part of it too, is that, we now have it become fashionable, but when I was growing up, you didn't carry water bottles around with you. Like you said, you had drinking fountains that were around, and but I think we just had a scare of all the what was being put into the water and how it tasted. It just didn't taste good.
is that your memory of it?
Well, you remember when we even moved in here, the water. before
Well,
we
we were
got a
on a well
filter.
before, no, and I know that now. But when you were young, do you remember that being like a fear of drinking the water? Because I,
It was never really pushed on us either. It wasn't like, oh, you need to hydrate yourself and get inflammation and all that kind of stuff wasn't
well, yeah, I
even thought
guess
about, you know.
my mom was a big health nut before
Yeah.
other people were health nuts, so I kind of grew up with understanding of it, and yet it wasn't talked about a whole lot. I know our oldest um, was in like a speech club. It was what junior gavel, and did a whole talk on the importance of drinking water in our body. And we had he grew up with this mindset, and he did all these statistics and research. And, the kids, I remember the kids saying to him, now I feel guilty drinking my soda, after he did that, that talk about the importance of water drinking. Yeah. And we don't realize, we give our kids juice and it's 100% juice. Well, how much sugar
Yeah.
is in juice? Juice is fruit that's been squeezed down and removed all the pulp and other everything else from it. And it's just sugar water. And so
It,
thinking about the things that we're drinking and putting in our body and how it could be affecting us of an, whatever age we are.
Also, maybe we kind of got off ta topic here with the tips. I guess tips could be both hydration is a tip too. That I shouldn't say that, but we could talk about other tips. I guess,
Yes, Don,
yeah.
we're in the middle of a podcast. Let's keep talking. Sun safety, talking about protecting our skin, using sunscreen or wearing um, protective clothing that's like, I can't think, SPF resistant, for kids who are sensitive to lotions and don't want the feel of that on their body, but you can wear, swim shirts and long sleeve swim shirts and hats and using umbrellas and other ways to protect from sun. Where were you going, Don? Because
Well, I
I
was
seem to
thinking,
have gone astray.
no, it's okay. No, I was. We're talking about tips, so it's good to talk about the careful tips too, like you talked about. But I was talking about getting into like some of the fun tips, the fun things to do, um,
Sure.
for both ages, I guess.
So, what fun things can we do in the summer?
Well, on the first thing they talk about is they talk about backyard camping, for the kids, of
Yeah,
course.
setting up a tent in the backyard and whether inviting friends over or whether one of you stay out there with them.
And then they talk about game nights, and we do that ourselves, but having regular game nights to do things. Um, Bike riding, that's one of my favorites. I got to get that bike down. I got it down for a little bit and put it right back up and start riding my bike. But and they talk about walking and even more of it, I think even bigger is that maybe hiking, taking some time to walk out, even if it's just a short walk. Um, and they talk about art projects, they talk about swimming. Um, on the senior side, there's they talk about porch gardening. I thought that was kind of interesting.
Having a raised bed, so someone who you like to garden but cannot bend down anymore. It's difficult bending over, it's straining on the back and the knees and things, but having either a raised bed, having a table and putting pots on the table to make it more accessible. Is that what?
I think that's what I mean by porch, but I mean, I guess too, if you're like, well, like your mom kind of living in an apartment, they
Right.
don't always have a place to go out, so they do, some
Potted, we
little bit
gave
of
her a
gardening.
potted plant. She's got a little balcony and she likes watching the hummingbirds, and we got her a plant that would attract the hummingbirds out there. Yeah. So thinking about depending on the setting that they live in, yeah, how can we incorporate those kind of
Just as a side trick, but I was going over to our old house the other day. I drove up to 18 in that back road, and there's that one house. I don't remember it, but they have expanded their front yard. It's all gardening. I mean, it's raised beds, and
oh
it's
wow,
this beautiful. Um, I don't know if you remember what house I'm talking about, but
that's neither here nor there.
yeah. But anyway,
Um,
But they talk about bird watching,
Oh
you
yeah,
know.
that's I've enjoyed that with someone I'm working with that lives in the independent living facility. She's an older woman. She does have some degree of dementia. And as part of therapy, would go outside when the weather's appropriate because it's more challenging to walk outside. Even if you're on a level surface, you have cracks and crevices, you have branches that have fallen from trees. It's never like perfectly flat, right? There's inclines and declines, and all these things are much more challenging on our balance. So, one, if you're going outside with someone who's older, or has limitations and things, realize that safety reasons, having a walker, having an extra person holding on to them, thinking about curbs and things. People with low vision might not see depth changes and things like that. So I've taken a walk with her outside, and there's a little screened in porch, and then we sit down to rest. And she loves birds. Her apartment is decorated in cardinals, which she calls red birds, which is southern slang for cardinal. And I showed her my bird apps. There's a Merlin app where you put it on and it records the sounds that it's hearing, and it identifies what type of bird it is. And it pulls up the name and even pulls up a picture of the type of bird. And, sharing this with her, she was just fascinated by this. And then the bird camera, it's not working currently, but I pulled up a picture that we have a bird feeder that's got the camera. So the birds come and perch to eat, and that camera's right there. So you get real close up video and pictures. And I had a grackle that I took a picture of. I use it for my Facebook page. And it's like staring at you. And so she got a kick out of seeing these pictures because when we're watching birds, they're at a distance. It's hard to see them up close. And so, yeah, it can be a fun activity.
Well, have you seen the hats that pop down that have bird like feeders on them? So you could like put it
No?
on and watch it. I've seen I
So
think
you
it
have to
on
like sit very still and the
I
birds
guess
will come
so, but
land on your hat. And
yeah, because I think some of them are like for hummingbirds that so they put have juice in it and this kind of
that's
thing. It's really weird.
great gift for my brother. Um,
Except he may never take it off.
I just can't imagine a bird like landing on you. I mean, you'd have to be
I would think you'd have to
really
be really
still
still.
or in
Yeah.
an area where they're used to people being around, a city park or
Yeah.
something. That's very peculiar.
Well, they talk about Tai Chi outdoors and then also about chair yoga. Tai Chi is a means of doing this small like exercise movements, basic movements that
It's a
um
very gentle movement exercise and it's great for balance and you can do it, I mean, you do it at chair level. So it's a great exercise, but yeah, it's something you could do with people of different ages, finding a local, place that's teaching the classes, whether it's outside, which is fun to be out in the grass, or, it's something that young and old can do together.
well, and, we talk about exercise. I mean, that could go just as well for the young ones that do get out and they do that anyway, though. They get out and play and go and,
Well, do they?
well, that's compared to when I was
Finding
a kid and
interesting,
stuff.
fun things to do outside, going somewhere as a family, in North Carolina, we have a lot of greenways, so they're kind of parks that go along creeks, and it's shaded usually, and so even when it's hot in the summer, it can be a great place to ride bikes, go splash through a creek to cool off. Doing something fun as a family, making it stepping outside of what you typically would do to kind of entice kids and realize there's kind of cool stuff outside because our life can be so inside focused
Yeah, yeah.
between going to school and then you go to your after school activities and we got work and we've got all these things we're doing and we have the technology to be able to FaceTime people and do work from home on computers and even kids in school they're on screens for schoolwork and then kids say, "Oh, it's too hot outside." Well, what can be fun? I loved going to the pool, and when the kids were young, that was like my favorite place to go, soaking up some sun and being able to cool off in the water. I just always looked forward to that. But what other things? What can be fun? Going to a lake. Some lakes have beaches that you can go to.
Well, and they talk about simple picnics, t so go to a lake, go to a park and take a small picnic with you, and share some time with each other at a picnic. Or they talk about family cookouts, getting out with taking your family out for a picnic is part of it, but also gathering your other siblings and other people together in the summertime is a real good thing.
And someone, I think for our wedding, gave us a gift that was a picnic basket, and it
Yeah.
came with plastic cups and things and forks and utensils, and it's in this really cool wicker basket. So thinking about trying to make something enticing, like kids are like, I don't want to go, eat in the park. Well, get a picnic basket, make it fun, bring different foods and things than you'd normally eat, you know, trying to get creative with things. Because maybe you go to the park all the time and you bring a sandwich, your kids, you eat something, but how can it be different? How can an old-fashioned gingham like tablecloth, whether you set it on the ground or at a park bench,
Well, you could also probably bring some games that you could play, or you could do
yard
yard
games.
games. Yes, remember
I grew up
jarts?
playing, do I remember what?
Jarts? Do you remember?
I Those are darts, but
Well, they're big darts, so that you put a circle on one end and a circle on the other
oh,
end, and
okay.
you toss across and get it as
Okay,
close
that
to the.
sounds familiar. I grew up playing horseshoes, bocce ball, badminton. Um,
What's the one where you throw and it's like it has a case to it and there's a hole in the middle where you toss like a sandbag. Like I'm trying to think of the name of it, but it's like on one side it's kind of a tilted up base with a hole in the.
cornhole.
What is that? What it's called?
Well, that's what it's called in the South. I mean, we always had one of those tic-tac-toe boards that
They
it
stand
flips
across.
X's and O's, and you toss a beanbag
Oh yeah.
onto it. There's croquet, there's lots of different.
Did you say badminton?
I
Did you?
did say
Okay.
badminton. I have fond memories in Ohio of the neighborhood kids and the badminton net in the yard. And we had a badminton net I remember putting in our front yard at our last house and
I
going
think we
out
still
there.
have it.
You kind of need a whole bunch of people to play badminton because it
Yeah.
was like you'd hit it and it would land on the ground. You go pick it up. But when you had like a neighborhood full of kids, I don't know.
Unless you're really fast, hit it, then run over and hit it back, hit it back.
Um, that's a fun activity. There's so many different yard games and things that you can play. So looking for those things, whether it's yard sales or looking online,
I'm gonna say, or going to like a Goodwill or something like that and finding some in the summertime, you might be able to find more of that kind of stuff. But
could be something different. And those, things like bocce ball, um, croquet, even horseshoes, you can do that with older people as well. Maybe you have to stand there and hang on to them for their balance, and these things might be memories from older people playing some of these games. I know there was a park in Mint Hill that had um, a place to play horseshoes. Like you had to bring your own horseshoes, but it had like the little stakes or whatever. You'd throw the horseshoes, try to get it onto it. It's been so long since I've played horseshoes.
oh well, yeah, well yeah,
um,
because then yeah,
you
it,
had to land it on the stake and get it close to the stick or whatever. I still hear my dad saying, almost doesn't count, only in horseshoes and hand grenades.
we didn't play hand grenades when I was a kid. I don't know about you guys, but I didn't.
So thinking about old things that, and that's a great conversation to have. You go visit grandma, or grandpa, or whoever, and your kids are bored out of their mind. Well, starting conversations like that, bringing, horseshoe set, having them tell the stories of playing this. I don't know how many kids today know about these different kind of games outside, unless someone does it on TikTok. Our kids remind us all the time they have very old parents, and we've shared all these things. So our kids know music from the 60s and 70s, and they know all these old school things.
Well, and if you can if you have really young kids, you could get the chalk out
Oh,
and draw on the
goodness.
driveway.
Wow.
You
That
know.
is brings back memories. We did that with our oldest.
Oh my gosh, and we would fill the whole driveway with.
Yeah, he had an obsessive personality, and not to be confused with obsessive personality disorder or obsessive compulsive disorder. Those are two different things. But was just fascinated by drawing with chalk on the sidewalk, and he was fascinated with all the road signs, and we would draw
Uh,
the road signs.
over and over.
And like he was two, like we were drawing them for him. And because I remember you talk about child development and how kids learn to read and write, and you give them a fat crayon or whatever in the first shapes that they make. Well, the first thing that our kid wrote was an S for stop, and that is not developmentally typical. um, to be able to draw the letter S. But he was motivated, and oh, we would. Some days it was like, oh my gosh, we got to go out and draw on the sidewalk again because he wanted to do that, and every sign had to have a post on it. And I
Oh yeah,
remember
that
my brother came to visit, so this is before he had his kids of his own, and he taught Harrison perspective, and he drew signs what they look like from overhead in the sky because that's my brother. He's an engineer, but realizing how just simple things that they can be fun. Sprinklers and
oh
um,
yeah, slip and slide kind of
slip and
things.
slide. And we would play in just a regular yarn sprinkler like you'd
Yeah.
use to water the grass. We would run back and forth through it. I know they make other things more specific for kids to play in. Right now, we've been in a drought, so we're not allowed to water the grass. But yeah, I remember running the sprinkler and running through it, and that being a whole lot of fun. But yeah, slip and slide. If you need a hill, sliding down the water, there can be other, just, a little playground area. We had one of those big plastic cubes, letting the water spray on, a nice sprinkler that goes back and forth. It becomes a game of running through it or not. I've taken walks before where people had sprinklers to water their yard, and, it was so hot outside that it was like, oh, walk through the
Just
sprinkler
run
to
through.
cool off a little bit.
Well, I was thinking about I just noticed art projects. I was kind of writing down what some art projects were. Now, putting together models.
Mm.
I can remember, I didn't do it as much, but I did put together, having to go. I think that's
Like
still a
cars, and oh, I'm sure it
it could be
is still
anything.
a
I mean,
hobby.
I was thinking about Stephanie built it, and her kids built the with Legos.
Legos, yeah.
The star. I think they did Star Wars or something like that.
Yes,
But there's
yes.
those different. But the putting together a model takes a
Yeah,
lot
the
of
kind of
effort
the
because it's
old-fashioned
glues and
models.
all
Yeah,
that
because
kind of
kids
stuff. That
are quite familiar often with Legos or Connects and things, or as you wrote down on our paper, erector sets, which you grew
I
up
know.
with, which we don't know if
I don't
that's
know
still
if
around.
anybody knows if it is,
It's
let us know.
kind of
So,
like a Lego, it's kind of like a Connects thing before there
but
was
yeah,
plastic.
we built because you could, I mean, you had to screw things together, and it was and they had motors and stuff. You could build lifts and all kinds of different things with it. So, but
But yeah, pulling out, sometimes we forget about those fun, cool things. And, our kids are spread out in age, and we'd put baby toys away. And I remember taking them out when we had our youngest, and the older kids were playing with these things because they hadn't seen them in a while, And so even teenagers, maybe they would enjoy the Legos again or Connects, or maybe they never had that kind of thing. And it can be fun. I didn't have Legos growing up. I grew up in the 70s and 80s. My brother had Legos. And so when we had them for our kid, it was like, this is fun. I never got to play with Legos as a kid. Um, it just, you fall into those gender stereotypes, and I never even thought to ask for my own Legos. Um,
I had the cheap version of it.
yes, you did.
Do you remember? I think we
You
still
brought
have a
them
few of
home
those.
with us when we cleared out stuff out of your mom's house and had a van full of old toys, and it van broke down
Oh
about an
man.
hour from home.
Well, and think about all the,
Mm.
I think about, and I don't know if they do that now, but we talked about drawing on the sidewalk, but we used to build highways and all kinds of stuff in the dirt, like depending on what you have as far as a yard goes. But we'd build highways, and we'd have our cars are different. We had big ones, we had small ones, but we'd always have build these different little cities in the yard and have a great time, just doing different things.
Yeah, those trucks. old, what are they, Tonka trucks. We had some for our kids, the metal trucks, like a dump truck and kind of good sized trucks and going somewhere where there's sand, a sand playground. And if you don't have any yourself and, or, if you go to a beach, and getting toys out like that. I know when we would go on trips to the beach, um, I'd make sure we had shovels and different things to have fun in the sand. And I had as much fun out there as the kids did digging around. But you can do that, simply anywhere you are if you can find a place with sand. Um,
Well, yeah, the other thing I was thinking about is I put on here watching movies, but I didn't take it to the outside that, most of the time parks and different places will show on screen, like a big screen outside where you can bring a picnic and you can sit and watch movies. They talk about music at night too, going,
Drive-ins. There are still
oh yeah,
some.
drive-ins.
I don't, North Carolina, when the Charlotte area, there's two, one out near Albemarle, um, one near Kings Mountain, kind of far ends of the greater Charlotte area. I remember doing that when the kids were little, and it just, you bring snacks or you buy snacks from there, you load up in, we did this as a kid in the 70s in the station wagon, and you park the car backwards and you open up the back and you all sit and bring pillows and watch a movie. I remember going to see Grease, and we probably saw other movies too, but I'm pretty sure, because they do two movies, and the second movie would be more adult. I think Saturday, Staying Alive, and we fell asleep in the car, and my parents got to watch. Is that the right name of the movie? Staying Alive? That's the
That's
song.
Saturday Night
Fever,
Fever.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah.
That's the
Wow, I
movie.
remembered.
Um, and I remember that going, and there'd be usually a double feature, and we did that with the kids several times, and that's kind of a unique thing. Maybe you don't have one near you, but maybe you're traveling somewhere, and or you can just take a day trip. Where's the nearest drive-in movie theater to you? Because that's quite an experience.
Yeah, well, we took them out with the van and opened up the back of it.
Hmm.
I remember the one place had two movies going. You could park in one side
Oh,
or the other.
yes.
So we couldn't hear that one, but we would watch a lot of it too at the same time,
Right. Because now you turn your radio station into
Yeah,
um,
you don't have the thing that
the
comes in and
speaker that
sits in
comes
there
into the
anymore.
car. I kind of have memories of that, but then also the tuning the radio in. And one of the ones in the Charlotte area has like a playground even down front near the screen. So you get there
Yeah.
early before it gets dark, and the kids go around and play on the playground. Um, so yeah, looking for something like that in your area, and that's something taking parents to that could enjoy as well.
Yeah.
Kind of a big family activity. But yeah, there's a lot of places now, parks and things that will do outdoor movie experiences, which can be kind of novel and fun.
One last thing they talk about was like journaling the summer memories.
Mm.
Yeah, we did some of that. We didn't. It gets harder when you have a lot of kids that not be able to, but being able to journal a lot of the different memories and stuff like that. Um,
And it can keep, kids out of school or out of their routine, and it can throw things off, right? Um, and having to keep people busy and having, so that could be a way of, let's get a special book, get some colored pens, something fun. Even older kids, would enjoy this. I would enjoy this. And let's bring it with us when we go places or write down things that we do. So we go to the beach, but we typically go in the fall because it's in North Carolina. It's so much nicer in September and October. But we were always kind of on a budget. And my favorite thing that I started doing is I would get t-shirts. I usually went to thrift stores and got t-shirts for everybody. And first I did white, and then I would ask people what color they wanted. And we went to Florida. This was when we first had our timeshare. It was like our first family vacation. We weren't going to visit family. And so our kids were 6 and 10, I want to say. And so I've got fabric paints and t-shirts for us in all different sizes. And you can see I love this one. It's there we go. Can we see it? So it's
yeah,
got
sure.
fabric paints and sparkly. And we proceeded to do that on all the different trips especially when we went to the beach, but you can do it wherever you're going. And we had a day and we sat and and decorated our t-shirts, finding low-cost ways to do things. We did a staycation
That's right.
when our
Yeah.
kids were really little. Again, we living on a budget, and I took time off from work, and you did as well. And Don and I, we pre-made food, so we didn't have to do a lot of cooking. We got paper plates and plastic utensils. We didn't have to spend a lot of time washing dishes because our kids were pretty young. They were maybe 2 or 3 and
Yeah.
6 or 7. And we decorated the house and we put signs up. I remember we made a macaroni, um, like
Oh, the entrance to a room.
the curtain in between
Hmm.
the doorway with on string, whatever you would call that. But we made a fun little thing. We called, we named the dining area, gave it a restaurant name, and we did. And and we went places like we went out to the drive-in. There was a outside pool, and we went out there, and we went to the drive-in movie, and we think we went out to eat possibly out that way, and did some local things in the area. But we even had fun in the house. We always had a kiddie pool of some sort, and that we also would go hang out and sit in the pool with the kids. We got a kind of nicer plastic one that was large enough that I could sit in it, put my feet
Oh,
out,
yeah.
and it had the
Oh,
little
oh, yeah.
slide that came
Oh,
down.
that's right. Yeah, I
And
forgot about
many
that.
memories of sitting out there with the kids and just the simple fun of, a little kiddie pool, just making the most, of what you have. And
Well, the other thought I thought about as we are thinking about it is the bookmobile, and I still believe that they still do that. Um, and it really could be it's a lot for kids, but it could go for seniors too that want to.
they have a bookmobile that comes around to the senior community where I work.
Yeah,
I was talking about it with my mom, and we talked about, I said, I have a memory of it because I was trying to find out where it was. I lived in like 3 different places growing up. And my mom decided it must have been Ohio because that was the most rural place we lived where maybe there wasn't a library nearby.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, libraries, adventures. I mean, libraries do summer fun activities. Just going out to the library.
When I
Some of
was a kid, the bookmobile was like the one place they had air conditioning,
oh,
and and
you grew up without air
you know,
conditioning.
well, it was pretty late in my. I think I was probably 9 or 10. We were probably one of the first ones in our neighborhood to get air conditioning because my dad used to service them, But yeah,
The
but
bookmobile would it come to the neighborhood or would it?
it would come up to one of the schools,
Okay.
and it would go to different schools around the county, and you'd just know the date that it was there, and you could go and grab all kinds of books. And
I guess you didn't have a local library,
I, I'm trying to,
which is
I have,
interesting because you grew up in in
I
St.
don't think
Louis.
we probably had one, but it probably wasn't. There weren't many there weren't many of them.
Maybe it
Like,
was downtown St. Louis or there
yeah.
weren't
So, but yeah,
local
because and
libraries
that was during the summertime, and it was something to do,
um,
back in the day.
back in the day. So thinking about fun tips, things to think about, ways to step outside the ordinary, do things a little different, simple things to incorporate for fun with people of all ages. And that is our podcast for today. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please take a moment and like, subscribe, and share this podcast with someone you think might enjoy it. Be sure to check out our previous podcasts, and we have some more speakers, some guest hosts coming into our podcast to do some interviews. That's something we've done a lot of in the past. So scroll through what other topics we've covered because in the very beginning when we aired this, it was a lot about raising kids and then we evolved into the kind of whole idea of the sandwich generation and navigating caring for yourself, your parents, and your kids. There's noise going on in our kitchen, which is distracting. And if stress, panic, overwhelm are becoming part of your daily routine, consider Don's EFT Discovery Series. EFT
I need it right
tapping is
now.
often described as this is really weird, but after doing it, people that are skeptical say, wow, this really works. So check that out to learn more about EFT For wellness tips, caregiver resources, and more, visit us at focusedhealthyfamily.com or focusedhealthyfamilypodcast.com. You can connect with us on social media. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Focused Healthy Family 1. We're on YouTube. You can watch these podcasts. You can listen to them on YouTube or anywhere that you listen to podcasts. New episodes are released every Thursday. Don is available to speak to your organization, caregiver groups, healthcare teams, and community groups about practical ways to reduce stress and build resilience in caregiving environments. For more information about booking Don to speak at your location, please reach out to schedule for a presentation or a workshop. And remember, how you speak to your children and your loved ones today shapes their future and yours.